I went to Ladakh this autumn, fat and unfit, after spending almost 6 months at home during the second wave of the pandemic. 6 months where I did not do any physical activity except sit and stare in front of the computer for 15 to 16 hours a day. So, my first priority on this trip was to regain my fitness. And what better way to do it than hike across a few 5000 meter passes in Ladakh while visiting some remote villages such as Dipling. My hike started from the village of Lingshad, which is now easily reachable from Leh over the Sirsila and Singela passes. I spent the night in a homestay at Lingshad and set off towards Dipling the next morning. Dipling is reachable by a 25-kilometer hike from Lingshad with the 4,800-meter Barmaila Pass separating the two villages. It was my first hike in over 6 months and I struggled a lot with my fitness. I would go out of breath with every few steps and my legs, especially my fat thighs, felt tired and dead while walking uphill. I just walked a few kilometers that day and camped the first chance I got when I came across a flat piece of land with access to a stream nearby. I was in no hurry to finish the trek and my main priority was to regain my fitness and enjoy my time alone in the mountains. So I took it nice and easy and allowed a lot of time for my body to recover and build up my stamina.
I'm already there. I'm already there. It's just in my mind, but for now that is fine. 'Cause I'm already there. I'm already there. It may take some time, but we'll leave this behind.
The next morning, I cheated and got a ride towards the Barmaila Pass. There is a new road being built from Lingshad to Dibling, and currently in 2021 the road has reached until the Barmaila Pass. It is a further 20 kilometers to Dibling and would take a few more years for the road to reach all the way to the village. But anyway, I managed to reach the Barmaila Pass without much effort and started to make my way down towards Dibling. The downhill walk was good for me. It did not require much effort and the long walk was a good exercise for me to stretch my legs and get used to hiking again. One interesting thing about Dipling is that there are a lot of bears in the area.
बालू है क्या यहाँ बालू
अच्छा बालू है डिबलिंग वाला
है
हाँ अच्छा दिखता है बालू
आदमी का कुछ नहीं
नहीं करता है ना
हाँ
चुपचाप से बैठेगा नहीं करता है
ओ
यहाँ से मीट है ना मीट
हाँ
मीट से यहाँ से नजदीक से करता है ना
हाँ
बड़ा दूर से नहीं करता है
हाँ हाँ ठीक है
ये डिबलिंग का बालू
और ठीक है ठीक है जुले जी
After a couple of hours, I reached the main valley of the Varnachu river. Dipling was a further 10 kilometers upstream. So I decided to spend the night in a stone shelter which would provide me some additional protection against the bear as compared to my tent. I lit a fire in the evening. I usually never light fires while camping, but a fire is a good way to keep animals away. The smoke from the fire is a sure sign that humans are nearby and that would keep any wild animal such as bears from wandering too close to the campsite. The shelter did not have any door, so I used some rocks to block the entrance in order to make it difficult for any animal to easily walk inside while I was sleeping. The Varnachu is usually a very dangerous, fast flowing river during the summer months. But it was almost October now and the water level was quite low. And also, to my surprise, there was a new bridge across the river. The bridge was built this year, providing a safe passage across the Varnachu throughout the year. I spent a total of 3 days at Dipling. It is a beautiful village, but I was a bit disappointed in myself for not going there a month early. The harvest was completed at the village by the time I reached there, and the fields were now dry and barren. The village would have looked amazing a month or so back, with the green and golden fields of barley adding more color and character to the village. But on the positive side, I got to witness the threshing of the barley at the village. It was done in the pure traditional way without any machinery, just relying on the hard work of the people and their yaks. I was nervous when I set off towards Rangdum. Having cheated on the climb to the Barmaila Pass, I was wondering if I was fit enough to climb the 5050 meter Pigdungla Pass. With these thoughts, I reached the base of the climb towards the pass. There was a stone shelter there and a spring nearby, so it was a perfect place to camp. So I spent the afternoon outside the shelter, cooking lunch and enjoying a nice siesta under the sun. I moved to the stone shelter as soon as the sun went down and followed the same anti-bear protocol that I followed a few days earlier. Relatively clean inside. You can clear the goat poop, light a fire there to warn the bears not to come. And I can use the stones here to make like half a door so that even any animals, if they're curious, they can't come inside.
I'm already there. I'm already there.
The next morning, I set off towards the Pigdungla Pass. The trail gradually climbed towards the base of the pass. The gentle trail eventually gave way to a steep scree slope. It was hard work climbing the slope, but I eventually reached the top of the slope. I expected to find the pass near the top, but the landscape flattened out a bit and the pass was another few kilometers away, hidden from my view. Feeling great. I thought I would struggle climbing up this, but somehow my body has acclimatized over the past few days, hiking from Lingshed to Dibling and staying there yesterday. So I've been walking 4 to 5 hours every day and resting and allowing my body to recover and build up the muscles, and it has made a lot of difference today. It was a nice, comfortable walk. I didn't struggle too much with my breathing or with the tiredness in my feet, but it's maybe still early days. In Canada I have to climb maybe another 200 meters to the pass. but hopefully I think it should be alright. The steep part is over. From here it's mostly it will be like gradual scree slopes I have to climb.
I'm already there. I'm already there. It's just in my mind, but for now that is fine. 'Cause I'm already there. I'm already there. It may take some time, but we'll leave this behind.
I spent about an hour or so at the pass and then went down towards Rangdum. The trail rapidly descended towards a stream and went alongside it. After a while, the trail disappeared and I had to cross the stream multiple times. Fortunately, the water levels were low in October and I could easily jump across some stones to cross the stream. The stream eventually went down a narrow, steep gorge, and just before the gorge, the trail was visible again, climbing up to an open area with some beautiful meadows and a big glacier. My feet are freezing. After crossing the glacial stream, there is a clear, well-defined trail on the left bank which leads all the way to Rangdum. I stopped for lunch near an open meadow. It was a beautiful spot to camp, but there were no water sources nearby. So I went ahead until I found a shepherd's campground behind a small side stream and pitched my tent there. I could have easily pushed and went ahead to Rangdum, but I had enough food for another couple of days, so I was in no hurry and wanted to spend as much time in the mountains as possible before going back to the villages. This was easily the best day of the entire trek. After a few kilometers, the valley turned left towards Rangdum and opened up considerably. Eventually, I moved closer to Rangdum, and the sight of the Tashidongse monastery at the end of the valley was just spectacular. I was spellbound by the sight and decided to spend the night in the valley itself in order to get some morning time lapses of the monastery. I tried to pitch my tent in the valley floor itself, but it was too windy and the pegs kept coming out of the loose soil. So I had to find some firmer ground in the slopes above the valley floor and pitch my tent there.
We tried to trace our tracks back down. It's wide as far as we can see. If you could see.
I woke up to a cloudy morning with a light drizzle. It was the first cloudy day after 10 days of clear skies. I did not get the sunrise time-lapse I wanted, but cloudy days always lead to some dramatic light in the mountains, and I was very happy with what I ended up with at the end. I hung around in the valley for a few hours until midday and then reluctantly went towards Rangdam. This ended my trek from Lingshad to Rangdam. I was still a bit fat at the end, but at least now I was much fitter than what I was at the starting of the trek.